you can get a long way with the pentatonics, and I think it's why the pentatonic scale is so popular for guitar players. So the first one that everybody does is, of course, is this one here. And yeah, let's crack on the distortion. Now, when you first play the pentatonic scale, most of the information that's out there will show you it in, you know, like a 2-octave version. And you'll play probably, you know, 5/8, 5/7, 5/7, 5/7, 5/8, 5/8, like this. But I've come to think of it in a different way. And so the first thing is that I think it's really important to play the scale from the root note to the next root note and kind of get an idea of the sound of where it begins and then sort of where it naturally finishes. That's not really a natural finish for me for the pentatonic scale. You see how it's kind of, it wants to go somewhere else. You know, it's kind of, and notice how when I played that lick, that's the note that I finished on there, which was the octave of that one. So really, that's the octaves there, the roots. Fret 7 on the D string, fret 5 on the E string, and of course this fret 5 here on the top E string, like that. So I would get used to playing it like that. That's your standard minor pentatonic. That's the one that everybody knows. And it's just kind of keys your ear into that kind of, the old Smoke on the Water. That kind of classic rock thing. Now let's look at how many octaves are in this again. This because I've started to think about playing the guitar and thinking about scales, and really once there's something that I've found, that when you actually break the scale down, you can play it 2 ways. So, and this goes really for anything on the guitar. If I want to start here at this fret 5, I'm on the note A, okay? Now, to find the next note, C, I can find it here at fret 8 on the same string, or I can go the other way and find it here at fret 3 on the A string. And that's the only 2 places that I can actually find that next note. I can find C's elsewhere, but they're not in the same octave. That's not the same, that's not the same, that's not the same. These are a whole octave higher. So again, if I'm here on this A string, I can go to the right as I look down. This camera here should be of use with this, hopefully. I can go to the right, or I can go to the left, like this. And that's my that's my thinking, my paradigm of the scales. I'm going to play 1-octave versions of it, and I just want you to think about playing these in 2 different 1-octave versions. So hopefully, instead of learning, you know, 5 different pentatonic patterns, I'm going to try and see if I can show you that there are really only 2. I can go this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to 1. And then here's the other way. Notice the fingering's difference. I'm going to start with that pinky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's back to the root note there. Okay. So these are the 2 principal shapes that I'd like people to get used to. So 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7. A, C, D, E, G, A. And then the left shape, A, C, D, E, G, A. So 5, 3, 5, 2, 5, 2. Okay? Why is this important? Well, let's go back to that shape that's all over the place. Like that. It turns out that this is actually this shape glued with this shape. Okay, so it comes from this shape and then it will go into this one. But to show you that, I'm actually going to put in a step in between. So the first thing that I want you to do is, if you've watched the video on vertical caged, you'll notice that we can kind of think about everything starting, each string can kind of have its own, can be the root note for any of the keys. So I've got all 12 notes on each string. Okay, so let's move this A here. I want you to start the same shape here. We're going to do the right shapes first because they're a little bit easier in my opinion. So we're going to do 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7. Now let's go to the A string. Same thing. 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7. You'll notice that all of the key kind of has shifted up. We're actually in the key of D now. D, F, G, A, C, and D. But it's still a minor pentatonic scale. If you want to test it out, you'll actually find another A up here at fret 12. And you'll also find it on the A string, open like that, but you might need to kind of see it like this. You see how I'm trying to show that my pointer finger is behind the nut here. And so that's how the finger pattern looks the same. Now, let's cross down to the D string, okay? And this is where the finger pattern, I think the finger pattern is really important to kind of keep it consistent. So I want to go 5, 8, 5, 7, but then whenever I cross from a G string to a B string, I have to jink over to the right. As I look down here from the right, I have to make sure that I'm moving one fret over to the right like that. What I do though is I don't want to play it like this and like that. And why not? Well, this is my thinking with it, okay? If I keep a consistent finger pattern, then it's one less thing for me to think about as I start to move this scale around. If I have to think, oh, I'm on the D string, so I'm going to do that finger pattern, 1, 4, 1, 3, middle, pinky, then my experience has been that it's really easy to kind of get lost if you do it that way. Okay, so try and stick with the same finger pattern. Pointer, pinky, pointer, ring, pointer, ring, pointer, ring, pointer, pinky, pointer. Okay, let's do the G string, okay? Starts like this. Pointer, pinky. Then I've got to shift over because I'm crossing to the B string. And when I get to the E string, there's actually no more shift. I don't have to shift back left again or anything like that. I just keep going down vertically like that. So I've got pointer, pinky, pointer, ring, like that. Now, when you think of it like that, you see how fret-wise it's very different now. We've got 5, 8, 6, 8, 6, 8. So, looks very different from that version here. It's still the same scale. So it's still the same scale. That's the octave lower from the E string, but you know, it looks different. And if I did it like this, it would look even more different, wouldn't it? So try and keep that fingering consistent as you go through each of the 5 strings. 5 strings, you say? This is what I mean. I'm going to come to the B string now, and again, I can go straight down because I'm, you know, it's not like the G to the B string. So I'm going to go E, G, then to the A and the B there on the E string. Now, when I'm thinking, well, where do I go next? I've run out of strings down here, but I've only done 2 strings at the top. So I've got all of this other real estate up here. So I'm going to do what I call the wraparound. And I'm going to go B string, E string. I'm going to skip this E string because I've done it already. and finish the scale on the A string. So it'll go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes, and back to the root note. Like that. Those two are the same notes. Okay? Now, if you want to get flash with it, which I do, of course, you'd go from the B string, and you wouldn't just do that high E string. You'd say to yourself, well, no, instead of this high E string, I'm going to play this low E string instead. So I'm going to go note 1, root note, second note, third note, fourth note, fifth note, root. And again, fingering stays the same. So I've got pointer, pinky, pointer, ring, pointer, ring. If you're lucky enough to have a 7-string guitar and you've got a B string up here, you'll notice that this is essentially exactly the same shape of fingering and fretboard diagram wise as what you have on the E string, but that's another thing. So let's look at those 5 again. E string, A string, D string, cross from the G to the B, move to the right, G string, move to the right because I'm moving to the B string, B string, I'll do the high E string, skip the low one, and go to the A string. Okay, notice how the fingering is exactly the same. Pointer, pinky, pointer, ring, pointer, ring. Okay, let's do the left hand shapes, or the left side shapes. Okay, so remember, this is where this comes from. I'm on A string here. I can find the next note here to the right as I look down, or I can find it here as I look down. Now, when I'm starting these ones here, I have to go there as well, back to fret 2. So I've got actually a 3-fret span here. So just like if I was doing a 3-fret span here, 5 to 8, I would have to use pointer and pinky. If I'm doing it this way, I've got to go pinky, and then I know that pointer will be at fret 2. So I'm going to go pinky, middle, pinky, pointer, pinky, pointer. Like that. So fret 5, fret 3, fret 5, fret 2, fret 5, fret 2. A, C, D, E, G, A. Okay? Note, root note, second note, third note, fourth note, fifth note, octave. Okay? Now, before we go on, some of you may actually be thinking to yourself, well, if you're thinking about this fingering here, like that middle finger can sometimes feel a bit awkward. So what I often find myself doing is I'll kind of replace that middle finger with the pointer, and I'll go, but I'll keep the pinky there on that third note of the scale. But I'll use the pointer here. So I'll go pinky, pointer, pinky, and then stretch. Stretch. And this works on all 5 strings, of course. A string, stretch. Then do the shift over for the B shift from the D string. Same thing. Pinky, shift over, pointer, pinky. Like that. That's the only one there from the G string here. That compression of the hand may feel a bit weird. But again, sort of, you've got to choose, like, what's the lesser of 2 evils, like learning a new finger pattern, or thinking like, well, I'm going to just kind of force that there so that I can use the same muscle memory, the same sequence of fingers that always fire off no matter where I'm starting from. Like that. And then finally from your E, B string I should have said. So note E and G, A, B, D, like that. Okay, and then you get to this. Like that. And those are, you know, five. That's starting your pentatonic scale from any of those 5 strings. Now, before we did these 2 shapes, you remember I said that the big shapes that everybody sees on the internet is actually it's actually just 2 octaves joined together. It's linked end to end. And this is how it works out. So I'm going to start with the right shape first of all, and then as soon as I finish the right shape, it's going to flow naturally into the left path, okay? So here's right path, find my note to the right. Now I finish here, here's my root, and I just carry on, B shift, like that. Okay, now of course you think, well, I know this shape, why would I bother learning, you know, all of this stuff? What have we been doing with all this octave stuff? Well, gives you all the others as well. So I'm starting here on the A string, right shape, into left shape. So let's do that again. So right shape, 3, 4, 5, root note, left shape, B shift. Okay. Let's go from the D string, right shape, B shift. Okay, and with this, I'll probably see I'm kind of doing that kind of thing in there. So pointer, pinky, pointer, ring, pointer. And now I'll probably start with my pinky here. And then it kind of comes back to the beginning. So notice how each one of these loops back to where I started. So they always starts and ends on the same string. See the G string one. There's the left shape. Finishes on the G string. Okay, B string one. Now into the left shape. And finishes on the B string. So I've got 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 4, and then 1, 4, 1, 4. Back to that. Works the other way around as well. You can start from a left shape and go into a right shape. So if I do it this way here, I'm going to change key because you're probably bored listening to it in A. So if I do it here, up here, starting at fret 8. Now I'm ready for the right shape. 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, like that. A string, B shift, into the right shape, D string, B shift, so I'm using this B shift and the wraparound idea to kind of finish where I began. G string, left shape, B shift, wrap around to A, start the right shape. Okay, and then finally on the B string here. Okay, and now I'll start the right shape. Okay, now to glue these together, you might notice that when I was doing the right shapes earlier, I was finishing with the ring finger. And to kind of glue the right shape into the left shape, if I'm carrying on, I'm going to try and finish up with my pinky so that I can get into that left shape fingering. And then sometimes what I'll do is just kind of use those two fingers for all of it. But that's, you know, again, I'm kind of breaking my own rules there. So when you first learn it, really try and focus on using a consistent finger pattern so that you don't have to worry about what fingers you're using as you kind of try and extrapolate it down here. We now have 2 octave shapes on each of the 5 strings. So the final part with this would be just kind of practice that That's the right shape going into the left shape. D string. Like that. Then the G string. And finally the B string. So that gives us all 5 shapes.